Okay, good. Come to the front. Well, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to our school. I'm here to introduce the PhD program. You may be interested to know that PhD studies at the AA have preceded our master's programs by more than 10 years. In fact, it was in the late 1970s, and I was a student here there, postgraduate student there, that students coming in declared an interest in doctoral studies, and we started that in the late 1970s, and our first graduates graduated in early 1980s, whereas we started our master's programs in 1994, 95. So back to the PhD, we have had over 100 completions. Of course, the PhD study is a bit longer than the master's. It normally takes 3 to 4 years to complete on average. Some people take much longer, which is not advisable. These are our current areas of PhD research: architectural history theory, architectural urbanism, emergent technologies, sustainable environmental design, which is my area, and city architecture, a new area which we're starting from this year. And any of this can be taken in its traditional format or as a PhD in architectural design, involving design both as a research method and as an outcome. It's a much smaller enrollment in the PhD than it is for the master's programs. 3 to 7 new students per year. We actually have 7 coming in this year, and then they join continuing students. So at any given moment, we have something like 30 PhD candidates who are either starting, continuing, or in fact completing. And of those, about half are PhD in architectural design. There is a question that one will ask, and I'm pretty sure you have asked it, because you have answered, I think, not this year. But it is part of my task to show to some of you that it might be next year that you may wish to undertake a PhD. So why PhD? Well, it's the highest academic qualification that one might get. And it is an intellectual challenge of one sort or another. It does, in fact, bring one into an in-depth knowledge of certain chosen area, which is quite satisfying. It also allows one to get expertise in research in a broader sense, even outside one's narrower area. It is a creative platform for original work and gives the time to do so, and you don't get it unless you have contributed to knowledge in your chosen field. And then it offers increasingly networking opportunities with other people in here who are doing the same, and also outside the school. And our students have become increasingly busy and occupied with activities internationally, which hopefully will allow them to start becoming known in their field. So there are some good reasons why. The way the program is structured is very simple and can be seen in sort of 3 levels, or 3 layers, if you wish. The fundamental layer is that the candidates as individuals engage with a particular research project under supervision by 2 qualified supervisors, one of whom becomes designated as the director of studies, having the main responsibility. And then we always have more than one person working in related topics, and those related topics constitute the opportunity for forming a research group that can develop its own interests under the same supervisors and generate its own events. And finally, we have the level that involves everyone in the program, all 30 or 40 or so of the students and supervisors involved. And here we have a list. We have 10 members of staff, of the school staff, who are qualified as directors of studies and are involved actively in supervision at the present time, and another 10 or so who are engaged as second supervisors and contributors to the program, some of whom are members of staff and others external. Generally, the directors of studies that we assign to students are always members of staff of the school. Here you have a very quick sort of list of current and recent PhD projects. If you wanted to see them in some detail, the best place that we have at the moment is if you enter the school's projects reviews area, which I'm indicating there, PR for Projects Review 2014, then select PhD, and then you can choose any of the projects there and click. Then information will open on that project, and the person doing it has just opened one of the history and theory studies, which in fact I found out this morning had just been completed, and one of the PhD in architectural design projects. It's very satisfying as the project develops to come here, especially in this room, and present it to colleagues and also to a more open audience. It's usually a challenge, and in fact it does take quite some practice. I must say that myself, even after 30 or so years I've been in the school, I find it quite intimidating to come to this room and talk to people. And I've heard many others feel the same. So acquiring the practice to do that is a great skill. And we see one of the students now who had just finished and is presenting her project. There's ways in which students put forward activities that they wish to pursue, many of which are public activities open to others in the school and outside. I'm just showing here the leaflet that was announcing a day on the grid, a topic, the grid as the topic, with members of the program as well as invited speakers, and a more recent one just a couple of months ago on the building. And one forthcoming at the end of this term, algorithms and actualization, an event organized by two of our PhD in architectural design students. And the Architectural Humanities Research Association is a very active group organizing 2 conferences every year, one of which we have organized here in this room a couple of years ago. And our current students are regular contributors to these conferences. In fact, they are very busy generally. These are some of the activities that some of our PhD students got engaged in last year, which usually involving a presentation in another institute or a presentation at a conference, both of which are very welcome by the program, and in fact we support the students in taking part in such activities, and especially if they can also be involved in publications. We have an ongoing relationship, collaboration with the Canadian Centre for Architecture, where we share a research grant every year, which allows 1 or 2 of our PhD students to visit the CCA and consult the very valuable archives that they have there. So publications, as I said, this is a target, both in terms of individual students attending conferences and presenting a paper which then becomes part of the proceedings, and also the events that are organized here to end up with a little booklet that celebrates the outcome. There is a PhD program guide. I haven't got it as yet, but it should be here by this afternoon, which I will distribute to those of you who have come for the PhD. But I'm also showing it in case that anyone else might be interested in a copy. This document gives detailed information on how to start and finish a PhD with us. It's step by step. It explains in more detail than I have given now the organization of the program, the resources that we have. It lists all the projects that are current or have been completed, and then the CVs of the members of staff involved in supervision. So in ending, very proudly, because I think I've saved you quite a bit of time. I'm saying this because by the end of the day, you'll be really tired, you know? This is only the second presentation out of maybe, is it a dozen? So I'd like to end just by reminding those of you who are new prospective PhD students for the program that there is the induction, which means more detailed introduction and distribution of the program guide on Friday, this Friday at 2 o'clock at the room called 33 GFB. I know that you have plans of the school. It's the first test you have to pass. Where are the rooms? So thank you.